Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. And you have it, myself, Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Manmouth, is pleased to be joined by Rick Curdy tonight. And Rick, first of all, would let people know that this show is titled Does MLB Market Their Stars? So this is a topic that I know we've talked about in other shows, but now the focus is on the two of us as we can go out there and mention that. Before I go into the gist of broadcast, I'll let everybody know they can subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The auto portion of the show can actually be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And you know what, Rick? Okay, we tell you what, this is a very big subject that a lot of people wondered about. We're going to really get very thorough with it. You know, I had the opportunity to cover the Marlins and the LA Angels last Wednesday over at Lone Depot Park. And I'm going to tell you one thing. When I was there, I could not believe what I saw in the field, how jammed this thing was. Almost feel like there'd be more people on the field there would be in the stands, but let alone the fact that the Marlins did draw 18,700 plus for that game, which is a good crowd by their standards. But why wouldn't they? You have Shohei Ohtani in town. You have Mike Trout there, the traveling road show. And I had an opportunity to talk to Don Mattingly during the pregame media availability. And Don and I, and as well as the rest of my colleagues, had an opportunity to address the circus that was Shohei Ohtani. And it was really refreshing to see Mike Trout signing autographs for a lot of the kids, too. And I took some pictures. If you want to see my story, go to southfloridatribune.com and you'll be able to go ahead and see that. But, you know, what ended up happening was the Angels ended up winning 5-2. Shohei Ohtani had 10 strikeouts, pitched 7 scoreless innings, drove in 2 runs, and once again, a 5-2 win. So with that said, just give me your overall observations on both Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout first, and then we're going to talk about some of the other players.
Well, Mike Trout is probably the best player I've seen in the last 30 years. The guy can hit, steal bases. He's one of the best outfielders out there, home run hitter. He can do everything. I mean, they said that he's like Mickey Mantle. That's what I've heard people compare him to. He could just do everything. He's just a phenomenal player. You know, right now, if he retired, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. That's how great he is. Ohtani is amazing because we haven't seen anything like this since Babe Ruth. You know, Babe Ruth was a great pitcher with the Red Sox. He wasn't just he was a fantastic pitcher. And to transition from pitcher to slugger, you know, and that's what Ohtani's become. I mean, he hit 40-some home runs, won the MVP, and he looks great, you know. And, I mean, he's been pitching great. He's been hitting great. Him and Trout have been doing really, really well. Unfortunately, the Angels, not so good as a team, but those two guys have done everything they can possibly. And I'm not surprised that people want to go see Ohtani because he's a huge star in Japan. They want to see how great he is in America. We see how great he is with his hitting and his pitching because it's something we probably will never see again. I know in my lifetime. It's just amazing that he can do that. So this is great for Major League Baseball. They need something to kind of like get people's interest up, to get the younger people interested. And when they see a guy hitting and pitching at the same game at the same time during the season, it's really something very, very unique.
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes back to the old National League Baseball kind of thing where you're able to help your own cause, and that's exactly what he did in that game when he had a 2-run single that went to left field that obviously gave the Angels a lead for good. So, yeah, I mean, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, you know, playing in Disneyland, Anaheim is unbelievable to begin with. So if you don't have enough fictional characters that are pretty good, I just hope that those two guys are able to see some success on the field and that their careers don't go to waste. So we start with Trout and Ohtani. So I'll just mention a couple of other players before we continue on. Aaron Judge comes to mind. Won't be wasted away out with the Yankees. They're having a sensational year. Justin Verlander has a world championship. Bryce Harper, to me, is another dynamite player who I think could play in any era. Giancarlo Stanton, say what you want about his being, fragile, but when he hits home runs, he hits them long and he hits them deep. And another guy that doesn't get a lot of recognition is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. up in Toronto. And, you talk about the face of a Canadian franchise, a North American kind of guy. So let's get to the real of what we're talking about. Does Major League Baseball do an adequate job marketing their own stars?
Absolutely not. They do a terrible job. These should be Trout and Ohtani. They should be household names. I just go with my mom. My mom knows absolutely nothing about sports, and she knows who LeBron James is. She knows who Michael Jordan is. She knows who Wayne Gretzky is. But if I tell her, "Hey, what do you think of Mike Trout?" and she'll be like, "Who?" She'll think he's an actor. So MLB does not do a good job marketing their players. I don't know why. Because when I was growing up, like back in the 90s or late 80s, they did a great job. You saw them in commercials. You see them doing all these things now, and now you don't see them do that. You might see a Bryce Harper or Trout on the cover of Gatorade, but that's really about it. You don't see them doing commercials. You don't see them marketing. You don't see them putting them out there. I think Mike Trout's kind of like a private person. You don't see him doing a lot of tweeting or stuff. But besides that, MLB does not do a good job. They haven't done a good job in the last 20 years. And I think that's why a lot of these young people are going to the football and they're going to basketball, because they recognize these people. People know who Tom Brady is. They know who those players are. You don't have to watch football. Everyone knows who Tom Brady is. Not everybody knows about Mike Trout or Bryce Harper or Ohtani. Yeah, there are people that are knowing more about him because he's becoming well known and he's getting out of that mainstream, and what he does is very unique. But other than that, they do not do a good job marketing their players. I don't know why, but they just don't.
All right. So with that said, you say they don't. So I got the $1 million question: what do they have to do to market their own stars?
Well, they need to get the younger fans back in the game because they're not doing it. They need to have them do more commercials. They need to do more, like, just go out there. Maybe tell Trout or Ohtani or something like, "Hey, go on Twitter, man, and engage with your fans and things like that." They just need to just have them do more PR and just more publicity on them and get them more on just get them more out there, because we know who they are, but like I said, the normal person out there doesn't. So they maybe do some more interviews with them, like a sit down interview and all that, and for some reason they don't. I think Trout's kind of a private person anyway, but still they need to do more of a better job, especially with Ohtani. I mean, we haven't seen anyone do this since Babe Ruth. And it's just amazing and unique. And I never thought I'd ever see anyone pitch and hit at the same time, let alone in the same game, and they need to just go out there and do that. And they just really haven't really gone out there to show people, look at this guy. We haven't seen anything like this in the last 100 years. Look at him. So just more commercials, more PR, and just get them more out there and do some sit down interviews with them.
Yeah, I think a lot of that probably stems with the team's communications people. I know they try to do what they can to be community friendly, but I think that the communications people locally can only do what they can do. And I know because I work with a lot of them firsthand in Miami. So I guess the question is, at one point or another, okay, does MLB's communications people get on the same page with the local guys? Because let's face the reality, I can say what I want about the NBA, but these guys get out there and market them. But I don't like a lot of the NBA because there's too much drama. We've talked about this before, and I'm not going to get into it tonight. But there's a difference between what the NBA does with the drama versus what MLB does. I can tell you that I can describe what the scene was like last Wednesday. Okay, Rick, you have a press box full. I mean, literally full. Take the word social distancing and see later. There wasn't any up in that press box. I felt bad for a Japanese reporter who was sat next to me as I was taking pictures, okay, because my wife wasn't able to get there because they had no roofer in the photo walls. What do you expect? You have a lot of international media. So, yeah, we know what Ohtani does. You realize, and I remember back in 2018 that when I was over at Tempe Diablo Stadium out in Arizona, again, covering the Angels, my friend Tim Mead was in charge of the Angels, credential myself and my photographer as well. I'll tell you, you want to talk about half of Tokyo being in Arizona. That to me was the scene there, and it almost felt like the energy was kind of duplicated last week. So, yeah, I don't know whether it falls on the local people or not versus with the national. And of course, the All Star game helps. Maybe the World Baseball Classic, when they do it every few years, does. But what do you do in between? Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder a little bit. But again, you have generational players and, again, I think the one thing nowadays, unfortunately, that we do see is too much player movement where some guys don't stay in one place too long. Once a team can't afford them, they move on from them, and then you're starting all over again. So there's a lot of things. I'm not here to break down anything that's wrong with Major League Baseball at all. I mean, after all, it's a sport that what we do here in the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network, we focus on MLB and we focus on football, both college and pro football. Hockey and NBA get their place whenever the situation presents itself, as well as MLS, Inter Miami. So, yeah, I'm with you. I guess it'll be interesting to see what happens. You need more. You have the World Series, the postseason. That's great. Okay. But then, the Major League Baseball All-Star game, the events surrounding it, that's all well and good. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. More needs to be done because let's face reality. Aaron Judge's, Justin Verlander's, Bryce Harper, Giancarlo Stanton, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and the list goes on and on. Those are the ones that stand out in mine. And we all know that the Yankees are the gold standard for MLB. And of course we talk about the LA teams. I'm not going to get too average. So, hopefully MLB will continue to market what they've got to do and appeal to the younger generation because you always have a lot of us diehards is what you have and purists that'll follow the game, but it's trying to get the other generation involved. So now that we've talked about that, so here's another question. We're full of questions tonight on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morganroth. Please be joined by Rick Curdy, Motor City Mad Mouth. So here's another big question, Mr. Dodger. Okay, should we feel bad for Freddie Freeman of the LA Dodgers? And let me paint it for you, Rick. Hold on. Just landed a $162 million contract. It was reported Freeman had fired his agent, Casey Close of Excel Management, okay, who led the offseason negotiations for the Slugger, played 15 years with the Braves, gave up his grew up in Orange County, California, and now lives in Studio City, California. Okay, Freddie Freeman, you made Atlanta your Georgia home. You were there for a while. They certainly wanted to sign you. So I don't know. Do we have another Latrell Sprewell here that he feels bad about a $162 million contract for real?
Yeah, it's hard for me to feel sorry for a multi-millionaire, especially when it's guaranteed money. So, do I feel sorry for him? I mean, I don't feel sorry for his accountant, or I don't feel sorry for his bank account. But in some way, I feel like he was kind of duped. I mean, it's obvious, and I'm a Dodger fan. I was excited to see him come there. I was like, oh, great, this is great. My brother was excited, texting me, Freddie Freeman's coming to the Dodgers. But when he went to Atlanta, he obviously missed the Braves. I mean, he had a press conference bawling his eyes out. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. He's just bawling his eyes out, and there's a picture of him sitting in the dugout all by himself, and he just looked so unhappy. And then when he heard that his agent actually had an offer by the Braves, and he knew Freddie would sign because he didn't want to go, and not telling him. I mean, he could sue him, and he should. I mean, that's just negligence, all because the guy would get more money from the Dodgers than he would get for the Braves, and more ka-ching money. So I mean, it's just unfortunate. Do I feel sorry for Freddie? Well, I don't feel sorry for his bank account, but in some way, I just feel like he was duped because he really did not want to leave the Braves. I mean, he still doesn't want to. And I hope he can make it work in Los Angeles because he's a great guy. The Dodgers need him. I think he's in a great place. I mean, I'm biased because I'm from there, grew up there, went to Dodger Stadium many, many times growing up. I just hope he can make it work. I just don't want him to be miserable and unhappy and then just trying to go behind the scenes, say, hey, just trade me back. I need to go back. I hope that's not happening. So I hope he can make the best of it. The Dodgers need him, great player. But I in a way, as silly as it sounds, I kind of do sort of feel sorry for him because I think his agent just duped him.
Yeah, which is precisely why I fired him. So, yeah, you know what? Like I said, I don't think the Dodgers fans felt very good that he showed that emotional display like he did. But the real situation here is this, okay? Does he feel bad that he went to the Dodgers, or does he feel bad that he's paying twice as many taxes in LA as he would Georgia? I mean, let's face the reality. If you're a businessman, okay, you play New York, you're paying the piper when it comes to taxes. You're paying to LA, they tax you any which way but anything. And yeah, we know agents are certainly going to try to get you whatever deal they can to fatten their pockets, which is why a lot of guys do get rid of them. So I don't feel sorry for the fact that he's a millionaire. Did he leave his heart in Atlanta? Yeah, but not at this particular point. You don't show it. You're the one who, I think the thing that Freddie Freeman has to realize is he signed off on it. Okay. No, unless somebody decided to hold a weapon to his head, and I won't mention what type of weapon to his head. In the end, it was his John Hancock that hit paper that where he went to the West Coast instead of leaving the East Coast, and that's really what it comes down to, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So sorry, Freddie. Like Rick said, enjoy your time in Southern California. Hope you can have your legacy. Maybe, perhaps, if you win a world championship there, then it might soothe the pain of $162 million of jingle bells in your pocket. So
you can go to In-N-Out Burgers. I mean, they'll make anybody happy because we don't have
I
that.
got good burgers. I've had them out there.
Yeah, go to In-N-Out Burgers, Freddie. You'll feel a lot better, believe me. So we don't have it. I wish we had him out here in the South, but like I said, he's in a great place in LA, and but it was painful to see him in that interview. I'm like, wow, I was like, he really did not want to go, did he? He really did. It's like he really does not want to be here with the Dodgers. He really wants to be back with the Braves, and it was very emotional. But yeah, he shouldn't be showing that kind of emotion because it kind of made him look kind of soft. And Dodger fans are probably like, do you want to be here? So I think he's just he put himself in a very tough predicament, but he just needs to make it work out. He really does. He's in a great team. It's not like he went to to the Nationals, or it's not like he went to some horrible team, that has no shot of contending. He's in LA, Hollywood, they're in contention to win a World Series. Enjoy it, man. Have fun there. And you can afford the taxes. You're a multi-millionaire. So, just make the best of it. And once free agency comes and you don't want to resign, you want to go back, go back. But right now you're under contract with them and just play.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it's not like he left for a place which is a losing situation. He went from one contender to another, and I actually think the Dodgers have a chance to go to the World Series too. I wouldn't feel too bad if I have a guy like Clayton Kershaw on my pitching staff, and the list goes on and on. So, all right, well, one last thing we're going to talk about tonight, but one that I think we can both feel very good about. Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols are selected to the All-Star game for career accomplishments under the new CBA. Rob Manfred is allowed to add these players. The additions won't cause anyone to lose a spot on the All-Star teams, according to the Athletic. Ken Rosenthal. So you know what? We can talk about marketing their stars, but I really, really applaud this move because you're not taking away from somebody that deserves to, but yet you are recognizing the history of the game. So meanwhile, we talk about at the beginning of the show, Rick, about marketing their stars, but then Rob Manfred, gets it worked out in the CBA that you're able to bring two icons. So will that make up for not marketing the stars? No. Is this a positive PR move / a well-deserving move? Without a doubt. Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols. Now, let's face the reality. Earlier this year, Cabrera hit the 500 home run, 3,000 hit threshold. So, it's great. And I think what's good about Cabrera is while he's healthy, he can be productive is really what he can be. So you're getting him at one of his best. You really are. And Pujols obviously landed where he started, but you never know. Hopefully some players, when they end up moving on, that they do finish their career where it started. And that's yet another thing. So let's talk about Miguel Cabrera making the All-Star game, and then we'll talk about Albert Pujols before we call it a night.
Well, I applaud the move. I've been very upset with the All Star game, as I call it, the All Star popularity contest. And I've always said, like if you're gonna have some fans vote, you should have like managers or maybe the baseball writers or even the commissioner could kind of put someone in there. And I like that he can add people, and I love it that he added Pujols and Cabrera. I mean, they're legends. These are two of the greatest right-handed hitters of my generation. Two, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famers. No scandals of steroids for one thing. No issues. I think Cabrera had some issues early in his career, but he's straightened that out. Pujols has just been a face and a model of positivity for MLB. Great story. Kind of like Trout, came out of nowhere. No one heard of him, and first year just lit it up. And he hasn't stopped since. He's having a renaissance year with the Cardinals. He looks rejuvenated. He looks younger. He's playing great, and he actually pitched. So you gotta add those two guys on. They're legendary. I mean, I remember when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar retired, and they did this whole tour where he got gifts wherever he went, where he got a rocking chair, he got retired jerseys, and no one had a problem with it. Nobody should have a problem with what they're doing, because this is MLB saying thank you for what you've done, thank you for being role models, thank you for just having spectacular careers, and this is just a farewell to those two guys who are going to the Hall of Fame, who are two of the top greatest right-handed hitters, and there's not many on a list of great right-handed hitters. I'm not talking about home run hitter. I'm talking about hitters. Those guys are hitters. They're at 300 averages, and I mean they're just phenomenal. And I applaud what they did. I applaud Manfred, and I love what they're doing. And it's kind of cool to see them both in Los Angeles and Hollywood, because Pujols was with the Angels for a number of years, was with the Dodgers. I'm happy he's back with the Cardinals. And to me, this just comes full circle for the both of them.
Yeah, that you bring up some interesting points. Few people realize that Pujols spent the first part of last year with the Angels. The Dodgers pick him up for pennies on the dollar. He has a productive time there, and then makes his way back to the Gateway Arch out in St. Louis. I think that I'm not one to talk about first ballot Hall of Famers because I don't cast the votes, but I don't think I'm really going out on a limb to sit here and tell you that Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols will be both first ballot Hall of Famers. I hate when people put somebody in the Hall of Fame before it's actually done, but it's safe to say it's a safe move here. Now, what I should point out, which is really neat, is these guys are not going to be championship less. Okay, Miguel Cabrera won his championship early with the Florida Marlins / Miami Marlins, where Pujols wins his rings with the St. Louis Cardinals, and then they would actually subsequently, I believe, face each other when the Tigers and the Cardinals played as well. So you got to see them face one another in the World Series when the Cardinals were able to win it in 5. So, yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, they've had great careers, and Miguel Cabrera, who knows? I mean, and this is probably throwing it way out there. You never know. Maybe one of these days, after his contract expires, I believe after 2023, is there a chance he would return to the Marlins organization? You never know. I've seen crazy happen. He could come down here and finish up a year down here. I think Bruce Sherman might be into one of those things, but I'm not speculating, putting gas on anything out there. That could happen 2 years down the road. We'll know whether or not his body says I can't do it after 2023. And I'm, as much as I hate guys getting paid so much money, Mike Ilitch rewarded them, and the Red Wings ceased owner. Mike Ilitch has been known to be generous to some of our star players, and Miguel Cabrera is one of those. And while the Tigers got the wrong end of the contract, as we've seen a lot of veterans get the wrong end of big contracts, and these two guys could probably classify as long-term contracts, or do they really perform to the level on the back end? It's one for someone's debate, but not to take away from the actual impact of what's going to happen at the All-Star game, say next week. I agree with you 1,000%. Rob Manfred got it right. You got these two people in there, Pujols and Cabrera, and I think Major League Baseball will be better for it. I mean, yeah, think about it. They'll have an All-Star game with Trout in it. You'll have one with Ohtani. I mentioned Giancarlo Stanton. Too bad Bryce Harper can't play because he got hurt, but obviously he'd be there. Justin Verlander. So a lot of the guys I mentioned are going to be there. But to see Pujols there, as well as Cabrera, as well as the mentioned names I just mentioned to me are important. So, folks, just so you understand, this broadcast here is does MLB market their stars? Well, I'll let you guys go out there and debate that for yourself. But at least we've had a lot of star power in this show here. When we talk about Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, as well as the name. And of course, Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Please be joined by Rick Curdy on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Rick and I do a lot of broadcasts together, and I talk about the ultimate team player. Rick, you're a Hall of Famer in my eyes in many, many ways, more than anybody will ever know. You do a good job coming on the broadcast, what we bring on, do an outstanding job on the social media. So, I think it's really one of those things where, maybe I don't mind having 2, 3, 4 people on at a given time. It doesn't make any difference to me. Whoever's available that night, it's always appreciated when they are on. But I won't kid you. It's nice just to be able to talk baseball with the two of us every so often. So, as you know, folks, you can subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel for no cost, or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com or look me up on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to connect with you there. So, all right, Rick, another minute or so left to go. Why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. You can go sign our petition to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. And if you have any comments or questions or want to get involved, just email me at cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
Folks, just so you know that we have a lot of great shows here on the network. We obviously have the Sports Exchange 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We have No Limits, South Florida Tribune podcast. Obviously the one you're watching, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. And we have the Fire Up series. So feel free to go to www.southfloridatribune.com. Look under WSFT broadcast. You'll see that we have a lot of different programs for everybody's taste. The Real and the Rare is another one that we'll be bringing back a little bit as well. So, but meanwhile, Rick, any closing thoughts about what we talked about tonight?
I enjoyed this. This is a lot of fun. It's always fun to talk about baseball. I love all sports, but baseball is my passion. I just want to see the game grow. I think it's great to tell people how MLB can market their players better. I think it's great just to have like a conversation just with a good friend, sort of like someone you meet at a bar. Just sit there and all of a sudden you start talking about sports, and it's a lot of fun. I could talk about this all night.
Yeah, well, at least tonight we had an opportunity to do that. And once again, Rick, it was so good seeing you in Charlotte. Every time I come to the Carolinas, given we're going to meet up anyway. So meanwhile,
absolutely.
Folks, want to thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Pleased to bring you this edition of the broadcast. And once again, does MLB market their stars? Listen to it over, watch it over, and take notes. And of course, if you have any opinions, feel free to email us again at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Before we wrap up the broadcast, I do want to thank Candy Ebling, who does a marvelous job here, making sure the shows get put up. Without her, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, and she does a great job of the content and so forth, and she's a contributor periodically on our shows as well. So once again, Rick, great job tonight. Folks, great to be with you tonight, and we will catch you on the next edition here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. Lots of great shows in the pipeline. And just a little something I should point out to you that we do have coming up on the Fire Up series real quick. I have an interview with Miami Marlins announcer Tommy Hutton that I'll be releasing any day now, so go out there and look for it. Tommy talks about some great insights, not only on the Ohtani situation, but the job that Don Mattingly has done as well. So, again, we have a lot of good stuff coming out there. So please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. And I guarantee you won't miss a great broadcast because we certainly put a lot of thought into those. So once again, folks, have a good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good night, everybody.